I'm retired and worried about the cost of food, medicine, and rent. Thankfully, benefitscheckup.org connected me to an extra $1,000 a month to help me afford daily expenses. Best of all, it's free. Visit benefitscheckup.org today.
We're local and entertaining. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans public.
Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
CNC Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, CNC provides patient-centered care for your entire family. CNC Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we're going to talk about two of the best that we've ever seen come out of New Orleans. The careers of, again, high school, college, and then, of course, in the pros. And both guys, again, had an opportunity to play for the New Orleans Saints as well, their hometown team. John Fourcade, formerly of Shaw, Ole Miss, and the New Orleans Saints. Tyrone Hughes, formerly of St. Augustine, Nebraska, and also the New Orleans Saints. Guys, welcome to the show. Good to have you guys. Thanks for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
Certainly appreciate it. And I've got a lot to talk about over the next hour as we talk about, again, the life and times of Tyrone Hughes and John Fourcade. First of all, I want to get started a little bit about what you guys are doing today. Before we get Tyrone, what about yourself?
Well, I work with several different companies selling their products. So I'm dealing with 24/7 disinfectant that goes in the air-conditioned ducts. There's no chemicals. We're the #1 company in the country. A solar panel company. I started a roofing company. We have a chemical in the oil and gas industry that completely eliminates H2S gas, which is real deadly in the oil and gas industry. A wellness program that not only gives additional benefits to employees, but also saves employers on FICA tax savings. So that's going really well. So just a plethora of things right now.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur.
As long as I can stay home and don't have to report to nobody's office.
There you go. That works for me as well. John, how about you?
Well, I'm keeping doctors really busy these days. They're building their second and third homes on me and buying extra cars. I had quite a bit of surgeries. I've been retired for about 6-7 years now, fully retired and just enjoying life. I'm still involved with the Hooters restaurants here in New Orleans area. Just basically, like I said, retired, a lot of surgeries, just enjoying that life, playing a lot of golf, working on my golf game, which it's not that good, but that's what I tell people. But no, I'm enjoying myself. I did some radio for a long time with ESPN radio here in town with Gus Kattengale and our buddy Scott Craig. But I've done that for a long time. They sold it, so I'm kind of got out of that. I'm happy with that. I'm just enjoying it now. I just get up every day and look at myself like, I ain't doing a dang thing today. I'm just enjoying life.
It's a beautiful thing.
I enjoy it.
There you go. Good. Well, let's get started. Again, first of all, for both you guys, Tyrone, where did y'all grow up? What part of town? West Bank, East Bank? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in the lower Ninth Ward. Okay. And I remember Gene Atkins used to always call me Ninth Ward, but I was born in the lower Ninth Ward, stayed there till I think 2nd grade, went to Thomas Elvis Edison for elementary school, went to St. Cecilia
Okay.
over down there, and then also then I moved to the 7th Ward, went to Epiphany, stayed there till about 6th grade, ended up going to junior high, McDonough 28 on Esplanade, and then I ended up graduating doing 8th, 9th grade at Bell when all of these schools were junior high.
Yes.
And then ended up going to St. Aug, but basically grew up, born in the 9th Ward, grew up in the 7th Ward.
And John, you?
I'm a West Banker. I grew up in Gretna, born and raised there. Went to St. Anthony Junior High School and elementary school as well. And then I went to Shaw High School on the West Bank. Father was a police officer in Gretna, born and raised my whole time in Gretna. Didn't do much with we West Bankers now, but somebody's living on the West Bank now. We call it the West Bank for a reason.
Yeah, you're right.
Born and raised over there, just enjoyed my time on the West. I still live there. I still live in the West Bank, live in Gretna as well as Marrero. It's peace and quiet for me, and there's no need to go somewhere. I've lived other places. I'm not going to rattle off all the places that he was at, but I lived at Eastover Country Club when I was with the Saints, and only lived there because I was
When they
playing
had the
golf.
they had the golf
course. I was one of the owners there, and I said, hey, what's the chances? But it's a little bit different for me living out in New Orleans East and back on the West Bank. But I still call New Orleans home, but I have to emphasize to people, I live in Gretna. It's on the West Bank of the river, and so let them know that.
Playground ball. I mean, a lot of us started out playing in playground ball. What playground did you play at?
I played at Hardin Playground, again, which was in the 7th Ward, right down the street from St. Aug. They used to practice there a lot while we were there as well. In fact, we just did, during the Super Bowl, that was the playground that they came back out and did the tree planting, the NFL doing Super Bowl, and along with the district attorney's office, Jason Williams, they did a lot of the cleaning up of the neighborhood around there, and with the blight and getting rid of the drug dealers out of there. So they really did a lot. And but yeah, Hardin Park was where I grew up. I played football, basketball, baseball, ran track, and I tell people, I said, I lived with my mom and dad, but Hardin Park raised me.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what was your favorite sport?
My favorite sport was baseball.
Okay.
But I was better at football.
Right. What position did you play in baseball?
I don't know how it happened, but I always was either shortstop, pitcher, or center fielder.
Okay.
So, even growing up and playing in junior high and at St. Aug, it was always shortstop, pitcher, and center fielder.
Now, biggest influence for you in terms of your playground years, was it coaches that maybe influenced your life?
I would definitely have to say, and like I said, I still had both parents at the house, but definitely Coach Hawkins, Coach Jones, and Coach Larry Laurent. I spent so much time with them. My mom never had to worry about where I was at because I was always around the corner at the playground.
Right, and of course, when you played football positions, you played?
Football, I was the running back and even punt and kick returner back then in playground. I was always, me and got another guy, Roderick Adams, we were the two kickoff returners, and you kind of you kind of play with the same kids because you're in that coming up because you're in that same age bracket and weight class. So we were always the punt and kick returners in our group. Did
you play grammar school, middle school sports there? And if you did,
no, we didn't. Everything back then was always playground. Yeah, like nowadays, kids got travel ball or whatever. And I even remember this kind of crazy because I was talking with when I went back a couple of years ago, spoke with Tom Osborne at Nebraska, which we're getting to that. But I asked him, one of the guys interviewing him was talking to him and asked him, when you look at players back then when he was coaching, what were some of the things you looked at as a coach? He said the first thing I look at is if they played more than two sports or more than one sport. And he said because that told me they wasn't an athlete. And nowadays you got kids where the coaches only want them playing one sport. And so you don't know how that kid is going to develop. You don't know. Like I said, I love baseball more than anything, but I was better at football. Now, had I just been trying to stick to baseball or the travel ball or whatever, I would have never been doing what I did in football.
Right. John, how about you? When you started out playground ball, where'd you play?
Mellot.
Okay, Mellot.
On the West Bank,
okay,
right? Lafayette, Belchester Expressway. Mellot, where I grew up at, and when I went to grammar school, we didn't have tackle football. We taught flag.
CSAL, right?
Correct.
Right.
And so and back to, I played all the sports, just like Tyrone said, ran track, played basketball, baseball, football. Growing up, my father was a minor league professional baseball player.
Did I?
Yeah, he played with Pittsburgh and Detroit.
Okay.
Danny Murtaugh was his manager back in the day. So I got to watch him a little bit but that wasn't what I wanted to play. I mean, I played it until they started throwing in things called a curve. And I played all positions and everything, and not all at one time, but I wished I could have. But I love baseball. Don't get me wrong. My two brothers were a little bit better at it, but it was definitely football.
Right.
I thought I could play basketball, but I did as much as I could. But I enjoy running track. Great story. I was playing baseball at Shaw, and during the middle of the inning, I'd have to go run track in my baseball uniform. And here I am running the 220-yard relay, go throw the javelin, then I do the hurdles, things like that. So you were right. You play more sports, and it just showed you won the competition, and all your buddies played it. We all kind of the ones that wanted to, but and that kept me out of trouble at the house, because my mom and dad always knew where I was at. And as far as Mellot, one of the coaches that really was, you got him, Chester Jones, did all the football stuff out there. And it was, Mellot's a bigger name, baseball player, Mellot. They named the park after him. But West Bank grew up there. We played a lot of ball in my yard. I had a huge front yard. It was like 30 by 40 in front of my house, and I was in that big yard with the fence, and neighborhoods would come. My dad would be out there and tackling a man with the football. That's how I got started. Because I remember me going to Mellot my first time ever. This is not to be. All right, I was a bigger guy than most of these kids were. When I got there, and I rode my best friend on my bicycle to them practicing. And the coach looked at me and said, "Well, why aren't you out here?" Well, I got my mom and dad. I ain't sure, it ain't who my dad was. Gret the cop, and they approved it. Okay, so I get out there, and he says, "Where you want to play?" I don't know about this. Where you want me? Put you on the defense. So I played defensive end, like whatever it was. And next thing you know, he says, "No. You're gonna be quarterback. John run right, John run left, John run up the middle, and on fourth down, John just do what you got to do." Because I was way bigger. You talk about the weight thing and growing up. And that was the thing back at Mellot. And I got to play with my brother Keith. That was even better because he's a year younger than me, but we played together. Sisters were all a year apart. So when we went to Mellot, the whole family went out there because we had all the kids and the parents were there, and they knew where we were at. So, that's how we grew up, and that's what led me to sticking strictly with football. After that, I had enough for all that other stuff, just one sport.
Both you guys, again, went to really storied schools. When you talk about Shaw for you, St. Augustine for you, talk about St. Augustine. Look, back in those days, and I'm sure still today, there was a little recruiting going on back then, right? I mean, come on, we know that. Coaches from the high schools would see the kids playing at CSAL or at the playgrounds. Maybe they get to the parents. Next thing you know, that they end up at a certain high school. Why St. Augustine?
Well, actually, and keep in mind, we had junior highs then. Right. So those coaches probably were coming to the junior highs more so than the playgrounds. And one of the things is I was at Bell. I was on the football team. I was the punter at Bell on the football team. And then I played basketball, played baseball. I was the pitcher and shortstop again, and junior high at Bell. So Percy Dewey, who was the coach at John Mack at the time, wanted me to come to John Mack to play baseball. So I was actually going to go to John Mack, had taken the test to get into St. Aug, and then I finally, right before I went to get accepted or go to John Mack, I found out I was accepted to St. Aug. So my mom, and we were right around the corner, so my mom was like, "No, you're going to St. Aug," and that's how I ended up going to St. Aug. But I went to St. Aug to play baseball. Okay. So as I'm there, my sophomore year started out in center field. Junior year ended up at shortstop. Senior year, I'm shortstop and pitcher. But going into my sophomore year, I was the punter on St. Aug's football team. Same thing my junior year. And then Burton Burns comes in going into the spring of my senior year. And well, let me kind of go back. My junior year, about the last 3 games of the season, I'm sitting on the bench, but the defensive back coach, Coach Payne, knew was pretty fast. So he told me, he put me in to go return a punt. And I returned it for a touchdown. And then he's like, "Well, you're going to be the defensive back." Well, when Coach Burns comes in, going into my senior year, Coach Burns found out about me. We sat down, talked or whatever. He comes in, he reads this book called the Delaware Wing T.
Okay.
And he made that offense specifically for me. So we literally had, my senior year, 2 basically formations on the offensive side. We had the Wing T, and then we had the Power I. So first series of every game, everybody, the Power I, Stanley Barret, around the clock, Vincent Hawkins. Second series and on, Wing T, Tyrone Hughes coming in. And from that one season, I ended up becoming Prep Player of the Year, and again, playing all 4 sports.
Right.
As you talked about, John, the one day I had playing a baseball game we had earlier in the day against Rummel,
Right.
I had to jump in my car, drive to Tulane that night, and had to run a track meet. And I ended up winning 100, of course. But that was my thing. But St. Aug, again, just the history of it, at the time, everybody knew St. Aug was all about the football and the band.
Yeah.
And that's what they were known for. Of course, we had great scholars and all that, but it was known for the band and the football team. And so you couldn't, and like I said, playing at Hardin Park, we would see St. Aug would come over certain days, and we'd literally sit on the side and watch them practice. So that was a great honor in itself.
Years that you were at St. Augustine?
86 to 88.
Okay, and how were the teams back then? How far you got?
We were pretty decent. We made it. We were actually, my sophomore year, we got put on probation, so we couldn't go to the playoff. My junior year, we made it to, I think, the first round of playoffs. I want to say Shaw, I want to believe, Mickey Joseph and them knocked us out. And then my senior year, we made it to the quarterfinals where we got shafted by Covington. But that's another story.
Yeah, there you go. We're about to get into some shafting in a couple of seconds now again, too. No doubt about it. John, West Banker, why Shaw? And of course, again, a Hall of Fame coach at Shaw and Coach Z. Talk a little bit about the years at Shaw. Why'd you choose Shaw? Was it because it was the school in the West Bank, or were there other schools coming after you that wanted you to attend their schools as well?
Well, growing up in the West Bank, we only had one public high school there, which was West Jefferson.
Right.
They had that dual, go to the morning shift or you go to the afternoon shift. Only game I've ever seen in a high school football was E.J. West Jefferson. Miley was quarterbacking at West Jefferson. You couldn't even, we were underneath the bleachers, we're looking through the fence to try to watch a game. It was my only time ever anything about high school football.
Right.
But when I was at St. Anthony, it was flag football.
Yes.
And so you get the Henry Rando came and recruited me. Joe Zimmerman.
Right. Was Rando at Holy Cross then?
Rando was, I believe, East Jefferson.
East
maybe
okay,
it might have been in East Jefferson. And then you had a few other Catholic League guys talk to me about it, but I didn't know anything about Catholic school.
Yes.
Okay, and Father Poche, right there at our church, St. Anthony, got in touch with Joe Zimmerman, Jimmy Stubbs. So these come watch all the time, watching the flag. They didn't really go to the playgrounds as much as they would, because it's a little bit easy watching you play flag than it is watching the tackle part.
Yes.
They came a little bit. So as time came on, Father Poche made the big impact on me, my father, and my mother. And he said, what about Shaw High School, which I never even heard of Shaw High School, and didn't know anything about Shaw High School. Well, he came here with the family. He said, it's a school where you got to pay to go to. My mom and dad like, well, I don't know about that. And Father Poche said, we're going to take care of that. So I didn't know what all that meant. He said that, my mom, you're going to Shaw, son, because it's free. So I ended up going to Shaw High School. Got to love Joe Z, legendary coach. Go to Shaw. My freshman year, I'm 13 years old now. You asked him what years he went. I was at Shaw at 74.
Right.
I didn't turn 14 till October the 11th. Season already started. I'm 13. Shaw has never had a winning season, ever, and Joe Z's head coach. So I was the only freshman that got to play on the varsity team. And then eventually Coach Z said, look, we're horrible. We ain't winning a game. You're now the starting quarterback. And I'm like, what? I didn't even turn 14 years. I'm 13. Playing against, my first game was against Holy Cross. Guys with beards. You didn't see that when I grew up at 13. So I'm like, okay, so I'm giving it my all and everything, and end up, we didn't win a game. But I'll say this, from that point on, my sophomore, junior, senior year, all those guys I went to school, we had about 18 kids that go from the playgrounds at Mellot and all the West Bank playgrounds that went to Shaw.
Right.
Okay, they didn't know my personal thing about I was going for free and kept my mouth quiet and everything. It wasn't my business to say anything. But that team went 0-11 and whatever it was, and then we gradually 8-3 and 10-2 and whatever we ended up going through and should have had back-to-back state championships junior year. Broke my ankle on the third play against Covington. Right. We lose 7-6 on the ball. We kicking the winning field goal and it hits the upright. The upright was bent. I mean, it looked like a U. It hit it. We lose 7-6. Following year, the Bobby Hebert and South Lafourche team, we jumped out on them early. A great friend, loved him to death, Paul Davis, Smoke, dropped a big touchdown before the half was, before halftime, and would have put us up at 3 scores. And come out, they 2 onside kicks, hit the same guy outside in the hand twice. They recover. They hit. Take long story short, Bobby Hebert played quarterback, but Bobby wasn't a starting quarterback for South Lafourche. He was a defensive back. They lost their quarterback that year, middle of the season, and they converted him to quarterback, and he was just a handoff here and there and all that stuff. But it came down to the end, and I still to this day will say I wasn't over the line of scrimmage. That was a winning score. They called it. The guy behind me throws a flag. They move us back. Then I'm going to throw another pass. The guy's wide open for a touchdown. He gets blown up like a Mack truck. On the interstate, just wiped him off. No penalty, no nothing. So we end up losing. But, hey, congratulations, Bobby and them. But my 4 years there, I mean, we played the St. Augs of the worlds that when we played the big boys, it was some games. We played them in my junior year at West Jefferson Stadium. You got to imagine, it only seats 8, 9, 10,000, whatever. They were on a track around it, but you couldn't even walk in that place. That place was unbelievable to go play a game. We beat them on a 2-point conversion on a fake kick. We kick in to tie the game. We went for it too. My center catches it. They didn't call it. Right? We win the game, 2-point conversion. We win 14-13. Now, my senior year, y'all couldn't even hang on the same field with us. We went to Tulane Stadium. I mentioned this before the show started. At Tulane, 40,000. There was some people there for that game. They were ranked first. We were ranked third.
That was St. Augs Shaw.
St. Augs Shaw. Number 1 team against number 3 team. We at Tulane. We jumped out on them, and I think we're up 14-0 at half. Coach Z gets to we took a halftime break. He's on the side. He said, guys, there's nothing I can tell y'all to change what y'all doing right now. Just keep doing whatever. We're going to sit out here and watch the Marching 100. I remember that. I'm like, are you kidding me? He goes, what can I tell y'all? You never seen the band before. Right. And he's right. We ended up beating them 27-0. And that was probably the moment. And Otis Washington was y'all head coach. What a legend. Loved the man to death. He was always kind to me. And so that was me in the West Bank. It was either Shaw or West Jefferson.
Yes.
And I didn't really want to go to that early in the morning class stuff. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. You go to school.
Yeah.
And then and it was weird how they did it. And I didn't.
A lot of kids went to work after that.
There was nothing. No doubt. And the only other school they had over there just became, they had Higgins, but that was more of a boy-girl school and stuff. Shaw was all just like St. Augs, all boys school. And the thing that got me was, a lot about West Jefferson, all you heard about, but I like, man, Shaw, give me a golden opportunity. We got, it's easier. All my buddies are there, and things went well for us. And till this day, I don't regret going there.
Well, that's 77 for folks that don't know. The quarterbacks in the 77, John Fourcade, Bobby Hebert, Tommy Wilcox. Again, 3 of the best to ever play in the history of high school football in the state.
I agree.
And of course, Tommy Wilcox goes to Alabama, becomes a defensive back. You go to University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. Hebert ends up going to Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken, right? Northwestern. And of course, but again, 3 incredible quarterbacks that came out of that 77 class.
I think what hurt Bobby was that he didn't get to be a quarterback till he was, in that senior year when they converted him. I think if he'd have been their quarterback, Bobby could have picked anywhere he wanted to. The guy had a cannon, guy could play. It's just a shame that he didn't have the college to look at it because he only played a few games at quarterback. And they ran, we didn't run the wing T, we ran a split back veer. They ran kind of like the I veer. And Bobby just did a lot of handoffs.
Right.
But
guys, just numbers. I know you've been 33. You've been number 1. Were those your numbers throughout high school and throughout college? Was that something you picked up in college? And then why the number? Why'd you stay with it even through the pros?
My number, in high school I was 87.
Okay.
that was everybody knew me as the Rabbit. Actually, was calling me, but I was number 87 in high school. When I got to college, another receiver, an older receiver, had 87, so I couldn't get it. My best friend at the time, Dana Brinson, wore 33. So I kind of basically, when he left, he was a senior, I was a freshman.
Right.
When he left, I took over his number, and I was able to keep it once I got to the Saints. When I went to Chicago, I was able to keep it, and then of course, but when I went to Dallas,
right.
couldn't have 33.
Right.
That was
Only the set.
Exactly. So I had 32.
Right.
And so that's how that went. But that was the reason. Was just basically I wanted 87 going to Nebraska, but they didn't have it.
Right. How about why number 1?
Well, first go back to high school. I was number 12 at high school.
Okay.
And when I left high school and being recruited, my first Ole Miss game I ever saw was Ole Miss versus Southern Mississippi. It was my junior year. And so I looked, and I'm looking on the field, just kind of got a glimpse, and they had this really good wide receiver. He was wearing number 1. And, I was just watching the game. He played for Ole Miss. And so that was it. The following year, I'm getting the decision to go to Ole Miss. I said, I'm going to go to Ole Miss. And I wanted number 12, my same high school jersey. They had another quarterback at 12, and he's been there, 3 years. It could have been longer than that. I don't really know. But, so you don't take somebody else's number. And like it is nowadays, I can give you a couple of candy bars and a soft drink. But so then I said, wait a minute. I remember the guy played wide receiver, wore number 1. The numbers to me I didn't care. So I wore 1 in college, and then when I left there and got to the pro ranks, you start looking around. I was like, I was born October the 11th. I'm gonna get number 11, my birthday. Okay. I'll never forget that because I'm 11, born 11, so at least I can remember what my number is when I autographed something 1-1.
Right. Yeah.
But that was it. It wasn't. I didn't care what number I put on, and the only thing I didn't for a quarterback, you don't want these. You didn't want 13, 14. You didn't want like 13, 14, all the way up. You had to be 12 and under, basically. I see guys wearing 19. My little nephew, when he played at Rumble, 19. Like what? But he got he got stuck with the number they gave him, and I was I'm happy to be on the team. Give me whatever number you want.
Right.
That's it.
We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the collegiate years for both of these gentlemen. Then we'll get into, again, the pros, where they play for their hometown team, the New Orleans Saints. All that coming up. John Fourcade, Tyrone Hughes, our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We'll be right back.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Tyrone Hughes, John Fourcade, our guest tonight. All right, guys, you go from St. Augustine and Shaw to Nebraska and Ole Miss, respectively. I remember it back then. I remember you guys getting recruited. I remember, again, a lot of folks upset because, two of the best to come out of high school in the city of New Orleans were heading elsewhere. You were going to Ole Miss. You went to Nebraska. I'll start with yours. Why Nebraska? Why Nebraska? I got to ask, why Nebraska?
Everybody, so kind of going back, in high school, I didn't know about, I ain't gonna say I didn't know about scholarship. I wasn't looking to play college football.
Okay.
I wasn't looking to play in the NFL. Like a lot of these kids today in high school, they working out for the NFL. Mm-hmm. That's all they thinking about. I was out there having fun. I was just playing. We had a game, and I tell everybody this, thank you, Kennedy Cougars. I know y'all school not there no more, but thank you. I had a game against Kennedy, which was the third game of the year, and I had already had like I was averaging 2 touchdowns a game. Again, this is really my first time playing high school football, starting high school football. We had a game against Kennedy where I scored a touchdown on a kickoff, and I'm still trying to get this verified to see if anybody else has done this in high school. But I scored a touchdown on a kickoff, a punt return, a pass, and a run, all in the first half. So I had 4 touchdowns in the first half. I got the Gatorade player of the week, and after that, I started getting scholarship offers, letters at least. So I go the next day, that week, I go into Coach Burns' office. He's like, here, you got some mail here. First of all, I'm like, why am I getting mail at St. Paul? You know, like, what is this for? He said, oh, that's your college is recruiting you. I say, for what? Like, again, I'm not thinking about that. I know I was going to college because my mom and dad was going to make sure of that, but I didn't think about scholarships and everything. So he gave me like a stack about this high. So I go home and I'm showing it to my mom and my dad, and we reading through it, and it's like, hey, we want to offer you a scholarship, or we're looking at you or what have you. And so then I started understanding I was pretty good. And so as the season went on, ended up, like I said, we lost in the playoffs, but I ended up getting Louisiana Prep Player, Offensive Player of the Year. Again, 1 season. 22 touchdowns. I think I averaged like 16 yards a catch, 40 yards on kickoff returns. But recruiting now is come up. So again, after football season, we go into basketball. I was on the basketball team, but most of the time, I was going on trips. But the coach let me at least be on the team. I played in a couple of games or whatever, got a district patch. But now you also have baseball and track coming around. But doing recruiting, I'm going on these different trips. So my official trips were actually to Tulane because Mac Brown was there, and they had a defensive line coach that I had went to their camp when I was like 13 or 14. That kind of Lucia, I think not Lucia, I forgot his name, but he recruited me basically to come there. So I said, yeah, I'll go ahead and make it an official trip. Went to LSU, went to Oklahoma, went to Nebraska, went to Minnesota. Those were my official visits. Went everywhere else, but those were my official visits. It came down to Nebraska, and Bobby April, came in late with USC. He was coaching at USC, came in the week of the signing. I was like, Coach, I ain't going to waste your time. I already got it narrowed down. It was between, actually came down to LSU and Nebraska. And I remember one day, my dad at the time worked at Girard Chevrolet, which was right there on the corner of Carrollton and Tulane. And I walked in there, and Wendell Davis and Roger McGee, they were leaving. So they wanted me to come to LSU to be the receiver. And I walked into Girard Chevrolet. I'm sorry, it was Banner Chevrolet. No, Girard Chevrolet. Walked in there, and they had a sign up saying, my dad worked there, had a sign saying Hodson to Hughes. And so Tommy Hodson was the quarterback at the time at LSU. So I already got the picture on where my dad wanted me to go and where they wanted me to go. But my mom, I tell people all the time, it wasn't Ron Brown, who was Nebraska's receiver coach. It wasn't Tom Osborne, this great legendary coach at Nebraska, that got me to come to Nebraska. It was Jack Pierce, who was one of the best recruiters in Nebraska. He sold Nebraska on me. But the biggest thing is he sold it to my mom. And so she was the one who basically beat out my dad and had me go to Nebraska.
Kind of cold in Nebraska, right?
Oh, it was very cold. and again, we went on our recruiting trip there, me and David White. We went on our recruiting trip there in December. And so it was snow, but they were practicing for the Orange Bowl, had the indoor facility, had the heaters going and everything. So you walking through the snow to the facility, but had the great facilities and everything else. So that was the reason why I ended up at Nebraska.
How about yourself? Well, I mean, I remember when I was in high school at the same time, so I remember when you were getting recruited. Why Ole Miss?
Well, when you getting recruited, first and foremost, the local teams are going to come after you. You know, and I got so tired of the letters and this, that. I mean, it was West Coast. I can name everything, Paterno, Bowen at Florida State. I can go on and on and on naming all these guys that sent in a letter, wanted to this, that, and the other. And I didn't know anything about it like that. I mean, I just wanted to play sports. Like, I didn't know I had to pick and choose now and go somewhere. Like, oh, I got to go somewhere now? And where am I going to go? And, how am I going to get there? Never been away from my family. So I'm sitting there thinking about it. And then it became a business decision. Because trust me, and I'll tell it like it is. And they came in with cars. They came in with washer and dryer. My mom one day said, "John, I got some stuff in your room for you." Like, what? I had 10 suits. She goes, "Oh, look at the new furniture we got in the living room." What? And she goes, "Come here, I got to show you something outside." I was like, "Wow, washer and dryer." I'm like, "Oh, this is great and everything." And then, that's for them to. You keep it. If I don't go there, we get to keep it. Right. All right. So not the cars though.
They ain't supposed to
right. Well, and these guys were coming in and they were all recruited. So LSU came on board. Let me backtrack. So I go to Alabama. My official visit: Alabama, Notre Dame, Arkansas, Ole Miss, obviously, LSU, and Tulane. And so I went to visit, talk to everybody. So I first go to Notre Dame. I've never seen snow like that in my life. I'm up there, and I'm up there with a guy named Vito Cobb, Penn State tight end eventually. Never left the room. It was so cold. I said, "Oh, get me out of here. This it ain't that." I wanted to. Cause Era Parsegian recruited me when I was a sophomore.
Amazing.
And I loved it. He called and kept in touch with me for 3 years of high school football. Then he retires. I got Dan Devine sitting there. I'm supposed to meet the man. 30 minutes later, he shows up in the room, and he's like, "Oh, don't be nervous." And I'm like, "What?" He was an arrogant son of a gun. He's sitting there. The woman brought in a bowl this big of Cheerios, and he starts eating his Cheerios. He said, "Don't be nervous." I said, "Coach, I'm not nervous. I met Bear Bryant before." And he's like, I wasn't going there. So I come back. So let's go back to Alabama. So I go to Alabama. I'm looking around, and I wanted to go there. And they convinced me that Tommy was going to move if they signed him to DB.
Right.
All right. And then the offense coordinator at the time said, "Hey, you come in and you won't play till you're a junior." And I'm like, "What?" So I left. The Bear was in Vegas. He calls me. "Well, how did it go?" And I said, "Yeah, great. I love there." He said, "But this is what your offense coordinator told me." And then he was drinking and he was cussing and screaming like, "Oh!" At the last, he goes, "You're not coming to Alabama, huh?" I said, "Coach, I appreciate everything, but no, sir." Then, goddamn, Barry Wilson.
Yeah.
Coaching LSU, recruiting me. So LSU comes on board. Same thing, man. They're bringing this, that, and everything. The Serial Brothers, everybody, they wanted and down me. I'm like, "Yeah, this is great and everything." Shaw High School, I can remember this day. They got 4 or 5 guys up there, and McClendon comes in there, and he looks at these players. He looks at Barry Wilson and says, "Well, who are these guys?" And I'm thinking, damn, you don't know. You just signed all these guys. I want to make sure all my guys got signed before I did. And he's rolling his eyes going like, "Coach, we've already signed those guys." And then he sits down and I can see Coach Wilson sitting. He goes, "But don't say it. Just don't say it." McClendon told him, "You're not going to play until you're a junior because we have Dave Emsminger and Steve Emsminger and Dave Woolidge." Right. Barry like to fell out of that chair, took a little break, came back. He saw me outside the office. He goes, "You're not coming to LSU." I said, "No, sir." So Mardi Gras came around. I didn't sign, the right off the bat. And so Mardi Gras came around, and then Ole Miss got all these new coaches. So I'm sitting there, and David Lee came recruited. Steve Sloan was the head coach. They ran the exact same plays and offense that I ran in high school. And I told Coach, I said, "We're going to nip this in the butt right now. If you tell me I will not play until I'm a junior, you can leave today. I'm not going to have, if I want to play, I want to get opportunity." He said, "Well, how about if I tell you you'll play as a freshman?" I said, "Can you put that in writing?" I was being funny. He goes, "Well, I can't do that." But I took the guy's word for it. Sure enough, I signed with him, go to Ole Miss, get to start as a freshman. And 17 years old again. Don't happen. High school's 13. But the recruiting trail is just, I felt so bad I have to tell all these Paterno, Bobby, you got to tell these people thanks for no thing. Lou Holtz, he's tearing newspapers up in my living room, making magic tricks and stuff. These are legendary guys. I can only go one place. And the first school that said, "We'll give you a chance to play," and I got to play. But people said, "Well, how much did they give you?" That's all they wanted to know. And I said, Ole Miss didn't give me anything.
Yeah.
Well, and that was one of the things, like I was saying earlier, that with LSU not going there, they not only lost out on me. You had Mickey Joseph, who was the Louisiana Offensive Player of the Year of '87, as well as Reggie Cooper, who was the Louisiana Defensive Player of the Year '87. Then I leave, so LSU is like, wait a minute, what is Nebraska doing?
Well, there was a pipeline in Nebraska.
Yes. Neil Smith went up there before. You had Leroy Etienne out of New Iberia. So
man, I wish I'd have known that. Tom giving all that money away. Got some cans of corn or something.
Speaking of money, think about, again, and I say this all the time, and I think I've told you guys this before. When you look at the NIL era we're in now, what would you guys have made today, okay, based on what you guys accomplished back then? I mean, the amount of money that's out there right now.
I'm sure. I'm definitely looking at millions as the best player, not just a player, but the best player.
That's what I'm saying.
See, that's the thing.
I'm playing, and I'm knowing all of the.
Well, that's the
sports.
thing about what he just said. If you got the accolades, all the awards and stuff that come along with it, and then you're going to go to a place that especially the position-wise,
right?
What he is and what he was playing and what I was playing. I mean, you got to. If I put, I'm not tooting my horn. I'd have made $4 million if they're paying Arch Manning and those guys, and I was a 5-star, top 3 high school quarterback in the country.
Right.
I'm not going less than $4 or $5 million. I mean, there's no doubt.
It's crazy to think about, again, what was happening back then under the table to what it is now, and of course the type of money that's out there.
What's crazy, even crazier, all of this started. When we were in college, we used to complain about trying to get an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month stipend just to eat.
Yes.
And people don't realize, we did get a scholarship. We didn't have to pay for school, but you still had to live.
Right.
And we couldn't work.
Yeah,
because you didn't have the time.
That's right.
So we was just looking for, another $1,000 or $2,000 for living expenses, for eating, but we were also trying to fight for it across the board, meaning all sports, and male and female.
Yes.
The way they're doing it now, it got out of hand, but guys are getting paid.
Back when I was there, laundry money, they called it.
Yeah.
Laundry. And then when you got a Pell Grant, $300 is what I got, and then you got some laundry money. Thank God that I had alumni guys that took care of me, because I was taking care of my brother. I was taking care of a couple other guys. I was doing all that because I was getting taken care of. And these poor guys, and it's so hard. I mean, once you one Pell Grant, here's your $300. How far is $300 going to get you?
Even in the late 70s, early 80s, that going anywhere, that's for sure. And you got a chance to play. I forgot to say, you got a chance to play with your brother as well.
I did.
Which was great.
And one thing was funny, when I signed with Ole Miss, remember they had the high school All-Star game?
Yes.
It was in Baton Rouge?
Yes, it was.
I wore the Ole Miss helmet. I wore the Ole Miss helmet. That didn't go over well.
No, I bet it did. Well, we fast forward to, again, to the pros and an opportunity to play for your hometown teams. And I'll say it again, because I've told both you guys this. If both these guys were playing in today's game, oh my gosh. John Fourcade, I mean, the type of money you'd be making as a quarterback, what you did as a dual threat player, offense, defense, the money would be astronomical. You guys, unfortunately, again, for you guys, born a little bit too early.
Yes.
But with that said, an opportunity to play for the New Orleans Saints. Talk about it from your standpoint. Both of you guys played for Jim Mora. Both of you guys played for Jim Mora in different eras. Unfortunately, you got Jim Mora early. You got Jim Mora late. Talk about getting drafted by the New Orleans Saints.
So going into my senior year, my junior year at Nebraska, I broke my wrist in the Colorado game. So I had a cast above my elbow. And once they missed a couple of games, once they moved the cast below my elbow, we played against Oklahoma as usual for the Big 8 championship.
Yes.
Going to the Orange Bowl, and Tom Osborne, we were playing against them. Tom Osborne said, "Well, look, I'm going to let you do kickoff returns because I still had the cast on. I couldn't really catch, so I wasn't playing at all." He said, "But I want you to do kickoff returns." He said, "We're not going to let you do punt returns. If you do kickoff returns and you drop the ball, you got time to pick it up." So I'm like, okay, cool. I did a couple of returns. Opening half of the second half, I run a big one back for about 30, 35 yards, kind of kick-started us. We ended up going to the Orange Bowl. In the Orange Bowl, I'm playing with a cast on against Miami, Horace Copeland, Lamar Thomas, Kevin Smith.
Yes.
And we got shafted. But I learned just from playing that. I didn't do good, didn't do well, great. I didn't do bad. So going into the spring of my senior year, I went to Coach Osborne. I said, well, Coach, why don't you allow me to play both ways, offense and defense? He said, well, Ty, if you play both ways, you're only going to be a 75% player. I said, well, my 75 better than some of the 100 we got over there. So he said, go back to the offense. So that year, going into my senior year, I ran on our pro day, I ran a 4.29 40. So I'm top 5 rated going into my senior year in the country. Me and the receiver coach, Ron Brown, gets into it, and he benches me to where most of the games I didn't play, except for when we came up against major teams where they wanted me to play offense. Well, since I wasn't playing on the offensive side, the defensive back coach was like, look, we can take him, we can use him. And that year, Oklahoma, Kansas State, Kansas, Colorado, everybody got away from running the option and started throwing the ball. So I played in about 5 games where I played both ways. Well, after the season's over, I go to combine, I ran like a 4.56 or something like that. You know, the turf was slow back then. But on our pro day, I came back and I was sick. Go to the trainer, he says, well, Ty, you know you have to run your 40. I can get you out of everything else, but you have to run your 40. And I had a temperature of 102. So I go out there and we're warming up and I run my first 40, and everybody else, after you ran, they were giving you your times. They didn't give me my time after my first one. In fact, they called me over. We had about scouts from about 16 teams out there at the time. They gave me my time. They didn't give me my time. I go back, I run my second one. They didn't give me my time again. So I went to talk to Coach Osborne. I said, well, Coach Osborne, I don't know what's wrong. They don't want to give me my time. He goes and asks the scouts, what's going on? Why y'all not giving Ty his time? They say, Coach, if nobody's here, who's not here is not getting it from us. So I called my agent. I say, Harold, I don't know what's going on. They didn't give me my time. He said, well, I'll call you back. He called me back. He said, you ran a 4.31 and a 4.35. He said, well, I thought you said you were sick. I said, that's why I ran a 4.31 and a 4.35. Other than that, I would have been 4.29. So draft time comes, I'm still projected first and second round. And of course, they had the Shador situation. I got the party going on at the house, everybody's there. First, second round comes and goes, I'm not drafted, I'm still at the house. The second day comes around, I wanna say it was the second day back then, and I get a call from Cincinnati Bengals. And they said, stay by the phone, and this is up around the 5th round by now. Right. They said, stay by the phone, we're up next and we're thinking about drafting you. I'm like, oh, great, thank you. I hang up the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I do not want to go to Cincinnati. So I'm watching the ESPN ticker with stuff going across at the bottom, and they show Cincinnati Bengals selected somebody else, I don't know who it was. But right after that, they show New Orleans Saints select, no, I get a phone call, and it's Jim Miller. Right. Jim Miller, the general manager. So Jim calls, he said, congratulations, you're gonna stay at home, you're a Saint. And I just hung up the phone, I started crying, and my mom and them like, what's wrong? Then you see it going across the TV, New Orleans Saints select Tyrone. They're like, you staying home, you staying home. So that was great. So I get into my rookie year, I'm learning, I'm playing out there, we're in training camp, and this was funny because one of the things at Nebraska that Tom Osborne wanted, whether you were a quarterback, receiver, running back, he always wanted you to initiate the contact when you're about to get tackled. He didn't want you running out of bounds. So even if it was, you got five more yards to get the first down, you're gonna lay into those guys. He didn't want you running out of bounds. So we're in training camp. We've already went to the Japan Bowl, played out there in preseason. I ran a touchdown back in that game. And we're in practice, and I pick up the ball on the bounce, and these guys are coming, and I go and lean into them. And Joe Marciano, who was the special teams coach, what the hell are you doing? Why do you do that? You get your butt out of bounds. You don't do that. And I got the Scooby-Doo on him like, huh? I said, well, Coach, I'm trying to make the team, and Coach Osborne at Nebraska always told me to initiate the contact. He said, son, let me let you know something. At Nebraska, y'all had 200 players. He said, here, get your butt out of bounds. I said, you ain't got to tell me no more. But the biggest thing I loved, obviously, was playing at home because all of the friends coming from St. Aug, back, media, I had all of the attention, but obviously being successful on the punt and kickoff returns was great. But one of the things was tickets. Everybody thought we got tickets for free.
Right.
We only got 2 tickets. And when I did that, everybody would call, well, I need 5 tickets, I need 6 tickets. So I'm buying these tickets and giving them to everybody. So my mom never came to any one of my games, but she would call me after every game to make sure I'm okay. So when she saw my check stub after my rookie year, that year to date, and what the tickets were, she said, oh no, I'm taking care of your tickets. So when my sophomore year, second year comes around, she's handling everything and everybody's calling. I say, look, y'all got to call my mom. She got the list, the price and everything else. They start calling her, hey, we need 5 tickets, we need 4 tickets, we need 6 tickets. She's like, okay, it's gonna cost you such and such. Oh, we'll call you back. So that went down. So that was the good part about being at home and the bad part. But just surprisingly so, having the career that I did with the Saints, I mean, you couldn't write a better book about it.
It was amazing. And for you, your path to the NFL, talk about it.
A lot different. You know, go back to college. Things didn't work out, didn't get drafted, free agent. But I went to the Canadian League, spent 2 years there. And then the USFL came about. I went there and it lasted, you know, we got $1 out of it, you know, after the lawsuit. And after that ended, I got a chance to sign with the Giants. They had 3 of my Ole Miss coaches up at the Giants in '85. I went there, stuck around like 9 weeks when they used to hide you on injury reserve and fake an injury. And I had Bill Parcells with the head coach. So then that ended after about 9 weeks. I left there and went back, and then I got a phone call to graduate from college. Guy, AD said, come on back. I'm gonna pay for this. Got it finished. Wrote a letter to the Saints. Carl Smith. I told Jim Finks, I'll pay you to give me an opportunity. So I came down, got a workout, went to camp, '86, got cut. Then the strike season hit. And when the strike season hit, they come beating on my door like, hey, you know, we want you back. I go, oh, wait a second here now. I have an opportunity to go play with the Raiders because I had 3 of my guys that were in the Canadian League on their staff there. And Al Davis said, son, you do well and everything, we're going to keep you on the roster. Well, I'm at the airport. Finks met me because I dropped Keith off at the hotel. He goes, where's your brother? He going to L.A. or going to Oakland. So that didn't work out. He's at the airport talking to me. I said, Coach, I just want the opportunity. I didn't have it in '86. Things didn't go well with Jim Moore and blah, blah, blah. They had Hebert, Dave Wilson, and Richard Todd. What's my chance? And I thought I had a better trading camp than him. Didn't work out. Came back. Strike season hit. We did very well. And then when the strike season ended, Coach Moore came in and said, hey, we're going to keep 8 to 10 guys, whatever the new rules were. And I got to be one of the guys that stuck around. And unfortunately, I was there. Fortunately, I was able to make the squad the following year. And then as I just worked my way up from 3rd, 2nd. And we all know what happened. And I got an opportunity at the last 3 games of the '89 season. We beat some teams that we weren't supposed to beat, knocked some out of the playoffs.
Played very, very well.
Things went well. In 1990 season starts out, you lose your fiance when she died of cancer. That didn't go over well. Things kind of was on my mind, but that's no excuse. When you got to play the game, you got to play the game. And I went out and played. Didn't go well. They brought, Steve Walsh in, made it to the playoffs again. They had an opportunity there. In Chicago, we had a couple of drops there, and we had a chance to beat them. I think if that would have changed everything to keep me back the following year, but it didn't. Look, I spent 4 years, not quite the career that he had, All-American and a Hall of Famer for the Saints, but I had my opportunity. I had my chance. I took it. I ran with it. I stuck around. I was part of the New Orleans organization, some form, some way. I'm still here. Got to be home. That was the greatest thing, to play in front of your family. Play right here. All I had to do is cross over the bridge every day to go to work.
That's right.
Come back home. So I got the short version. Here's a long version because he was drafted and everything. But I'm still an NFL player. Played with my home team, the New Orleans Saints.
Moore, how was it under Coach Moore?
He was a strict dude. I mean, he was a defensive-minded guy. He was a military guy. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of people in the organization that didn't like that. Didn't understand. These players these days, what deal with that? He was a strict guy and everything. But look, you got to play for the man. You got to respect the man. He's been there, and I was able to play and got to respect him and play. But he was a little stricter coach than some of these guys are these days. I promise you that.
Well, you got him early. Where he was, but you got him a little bit later.
I got him a little bit later, but he still was that hard, guy to play for, But the one thing I learned is he was that way when he was at practice, on the field, whatever. But away from the field in the off season, he's a great guy, real gentle giant. And then, I actually played for his son coached me, Jay Elmore, and so that was a big, I guess. It helped.
Right.
It helped being able to understand the head coach from what's going on with the son, and so we had a lot going on. I mean, but he was at the end at that point where I guess it was at the end where it was on the chopping block, and so a lot of those seasons, we started off actually my rookie year 5-0.
Right.
And I think one of the things was we always had, and that was known throughout the league, that we had one of the hardest training camps.
Yes,
because
always.
my rookie year we were and you talk about the guys today. I'm like,
today,
we could have extended the career.
Right.
But we had 6 weeks of two-a-days, full pads every day.
Right.
So we would go up to Wisconsin, where a lot of teams did.
Right.
And we were in La Crosse. You had Minnesota up there, Kansas City, Chicago. We'd all scrimmage against each other, but we were in full pads all those 6 weeks of two-a-days. The last 2 weeks, we would come back home to the facility on David Drive at the time, and we still had full pads.
Right.
And we started off 5-0, but then at some point you just start getting tired. And I want to say we might have finished the season my rookie year. I want to say 9-7.
Yeah, I remember it was 5-0.
8-8, something like that.
Atlanta was the last big win y'all had, and then things kind of dropped off.
Man, we went to Pittsburgh. I don't know if it was before the break or after the break. We went to Pittsburgh.
It was after the break.
It was that.
Yep.
Pittsburgh laid into it.
Guys, would you have changed anything? I got a minute for each one. Would you have changed anything?
Oh yeah, you can always go back and look at changing some things. There's some things I might have said and might have done. Yeah, we all go back and wish that we changed things. But listen, I had my opportunity. I took it. Granted, he gave me 36 surgeries, so I'm happy to say about that.
You're getting another one for sure. Would you change anything?
Only thing I would change is being more vocal towards the coaches as far as where I should play. And I got drafted as a defensive back because they didn't know where to draft me, supposedly, but I was always an offensive guy.
Right.
So I think I would have expressed more to put me more on the offensive side as opposed to the defensive side.
One of my great memories about both you guys watching you guys play in college was the tearaway jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
With you guys, both you guys with tearaway jerseys, and just see your guy going to tackle, you pull your tearaway jersey, and y'all still going.
Yeah, well, the thing back then is all my offensive linemen. They would have, a couple of them would have my jerseys, a couple of them have the other running backs jerseys stuck behind like towels.
Right.
So if we ripped them, you didn't come off the field.
Yes.
They just took them out of the back of the pants and threw it right on. That's it.
Well, two of the best to ever do it in the history of New Orleans. Again, prep. You talk about, again, what they did on the collegiate level. Both great college players, and both have an opportunity to play for the hometown teams. Can't ask for any more. And thank both of you guys coming down here and sharing, again, your life and times, what you guys did in your career. I enjoyed both of you guys, watching you guys coming up. Again, we were in high school the same time. Watching you again coming up, and both guys, again, gave a lot back to our community and gave a lot of great moments to those of us that watched them as Saints fans as well. Thank you for coming down tonight.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much for joining us. Again, special thanks to, again, Tyrone Hughes and John Fourcade. Also, again, remember, there are plenty of ways to catch us on this program. There's a QR code on your screen that will take you to my website, ericasher.com, also WLAE-TV YouTube channel. You go, again, set your DVR, you'll never miss the program. WLAE-TV, WLAE-TV2, Pelican Sports Network, plenty of ways to catch our show. You can catch me on the radio, 106.7 The Ticket. That's 4 to 6 weekdays. You can listen live at ericasher.com, 106.7 The Ticket's website. We also have an app, 106.7 The Ticket app, in which you can download. Other digital platforms, iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app. Get involved in those apps, and you can take the show anywhere. Also, again, want to thank the underwriters who make our show possible, each and every one of those underwriters. Thanks to the underwriters. Please support our underwriters. And, of course, the folks here at WLAE-TV who, again, produce our program each and every week. Rod Yeager, Jim Dotson, Alex Chacon, and the best director on the planet, William Hill. For John Fourcade and Tyrone Hughes, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week for another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports.
Kyle's last spin on his turntable.
Yeah.
And the first day of Kira's new career in IT. When you donate to Goodwill, you help provide skills training and career placement. And the things you loved start a new life too.
Dear Coach.
Dear Coach.
Dear Coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong, but you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once, but you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to get back up after you fail or how to keep going no matter what they say about you, but you taught me that.
So every time I walk up to that first tee,
that next test,
a new school,
or even walking into my first job,
I know I have what I need inside of me, and you helped me build it.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of. You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
We're local and educational. You're watching WLAE-TV, celebrating 40 years of New Orleans